All right, what up, guys? Mad Scientist 7890 here with MVP Shear and the Nathan Carter YT back with RSTSExpressWrestling. Going to do some discussion here about the indies. Basically, go through Ring of Honor. We're going to talk about Dragon Gate USA. We're going to talk about PWG and just go down the line, talk about their big shows and stuff coming up here, all the big topics out of all the companies. So I'm going to shoot here first with Ring of Honor. Basically, going to do their 10th anniversary show. A lot of talk about the main event here going on about the Davey Richards, Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole and Eddie Edwards. What do you guys think about this?
I mean, I think it's a bad idea. I think it's like one of their 5 big shows. Supercard, Death Force Honor, Glory of Honor, Final Battle, and then their anniversary show. And it's not being headlined by like a big title match. It kind of is like, I think they're kind of getting their idea. It's like it's like a New Japan show where some of their big shows are actually like headlined by like tag team attraction matches, and I feel like that's where they're going with this. And I don't know if that's going to do a good buy rate for them. Because there's no reason to actually order that show and watch that match unless you just want to watch good wrestling, because the title's not going to change hands or anything.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think to an extent they're kind of starting to realize what everyone who watches Ring of Honor has realized over the past year, is that they're thin on main event talent. So I think the idea here is that you take this big show, landmark show, 10th anniversary, and you toss these 2 kids in there, and then all of a sudden they're going to be main event talent. They're going to be, I guarantee you, one of those kids gets a title shot within the next couple months.
That's their idea. They want to make Cole and O'Reilly main eventers. That's the whole idea of having this match. Whereas I think they should have a title match. And I get the whole thing, Strong has already been beaten by Richards, Steen isn't necessarily ready to have his match yet. Generico's on the shelf and might be on his way out, according to Nathan. Edwards, they don't want to do Edwards again because he just had a match. But like I've told both you guys, I think they should just do Richards versus Edwards, 60-minute Ironman match. Just make it their 3rd match, and then they would count it as their 4th, but I don't really care about that. Their 3 latest matches, just in that rivalry here, I think that would be a good place for it to happen. I think it would sell better than what they've already offered. I don't know. I think Ring of Honor just, they don't have an idea and direction of where they're going. They're just kind of like you said, like Nathan said, they're becoming like Smoky Mountain Wrestling, if you watch their TV program, according to him, if you want to go in on that.
Well, yeah, it's clear that Jim Cornette's run the show up there, and a lot of guys that indie fans are a big fan of, just because Cornette might not be big on him, like a guy like Cole Cabana, even El Generico, which I'm saying that, but I believe that was actually in the Observer, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I don't know. It's gonna take a lot for me to buy this show. It's becoming harder for me. It's becoming harder and harder for me to defend Ring of Honor, and it's probably been my favorite American indie over the past few years. So, I would consider myself a pretty big ROH mark, and at this point, they're even losing me a little bit.
Yeah, I actually did a video on my own channel a while back. It's basically titled "Is Jim Cornette Hurting Ring of Honor?" And I think it's really a big thing where the way he runs the old school style, Smoky Mountain style, is kind of hurting it, because it's not the dinosaur age of wrestling anymore. Nobody, likes the same stuff that they liked back in the 80s. The same people who are watching the 80s are really just not watching Ring of Honor. It's a younger, hybrid, viewer, and they like the Ring of Honor of 2006 and the guy, when Gabe was running it. But
I honestly think with their TV deal, they need a big storyline to kind of bring people in. I think that's kind of what they need to go more to. I get they can still have the wrestling and have these storylines, but they don't they're putting together just random matches on their cards that are kind of like, they're still in the process of like building up their main event guys, putting them over guys from like OVW and stuff. Whereas I've talked this about, yes, I think Kevin Steen should win the title of Death Force Honor. El Generico should beat Kevin Steen in the Final Battle. In between that, Mike Bennett should win Survival of the Fittest. Bennett should come out, win the title at the end of Final Battle off El Generico, who just won the sympathetic babyface, and start off just a huge program of how Mike Bennett, everyone fucking hates him, and like they just trash the ring every time he wins a match, and just go on like just a JBL storyline. I think that would be great. I'm sure I'm in the minority on that, but I think they need something that actually like brings in fans to care about like who beats somebody.
No, I do like what they're doing. I do like what they're doing because they're trying to create main eventers in Ring of Honor. with Cole and O'Reilly, because I think the way that it's being played off, and from those of you out there, or if you guys have seen, Adam Cole and CZW playing the heel, he does a great job.
I think Adam Cole's next Bryan Daniels. I mean,
yeah, and the thing with that is, I think this is a smart move to the point where Ring of Honor's, I would say Ring of Honor's, heavy on the tag team scene. So, they don't really need Future Shock to be a tag team. They could split these guys up. They could have Davey Richards, or, Kyle O'Reilly be with Davey Richards and be this, whipping, kind of like young boy teacher type thing. And I think they should turn Cole heel and have Cole feud with Jay Lethal over the TV title and really build him up that way.
From the beginning, I thought it was a mistake to put Cole and O'Reilly together. I think they should have been building them. If their eventual intent is for them to be single stars, which I think it is, I think they should have been single stars from the beginning. They're a good tag team, but for a company that's so low on singles talent, they're not really low on singles talent. They're just not pushing any of it. And I think that was a mistake. But I'll be interested to see what they do. Just to put a lid on it, what I always say is that 1980s NWA is great and Jim Cornette loves it, but the only problem is 1980s NWA already happens, and I could go buy a WWE DVD and watch it if I want to see it. I don't need it in my Ring of Honor.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that perfectly. Now, the one thing I do like, the program that they're starting to run here with the Briscoes and the Young Bucks. I think the Young Bucks are a fabulous tag team. As heels, I think the Briscoes are playing great faces right now, and whoever out there, I don't watch Ring of Honor because their guys can't cut promos and they don't have characters. Jay Briscoe, if Jay Briscoe ever got a singles run, he reminds me of a young Stone Cold Steve Austin, like the way he cuts promos and the way he acts.
Why not have Jay Briscoe fight for the title at the anniversary show? It'd make perfect sense. It'd make even more sense if, say, they built him up as a singles competitor and he won at next year's anniversary show, since he's been there for day one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That would be
since day one.
That would be absolutely a great move. That would leave Mark out in the cold, but I think Mark could run off and do stuff too in a singles thing, maybe doing a mid-card title thing, or
I think they should give the Young Bucks the straps. I think they're
too.
Tremendous heels. If you watch the PWG stuff, they're tremendous. They get their hatred. People just hate the Young Bucks in PWG, and it's great. And I think they should go with that.
Yeah.
But moving on to Dragon Gate USA, they don't have another show till WrestleMania weekend. Don't boo Dragon Gate USA. But in order to try to increase buy rates, they are giving away their next show, one time only, live, for $1.99. And the main event of that show is Loki and Pac. Your guys' thoughts? Does Loki and Pac alone sell you on a pay-per-view for $2?
Well, yeah, absolutely. But they're doing the exact thing that I think independent wrestling marks think that they're going to do. They're going to put on a match between two guys who are obviously nowadays, haven't seen Pac lately, but mostly spot guys. They're going to the formula that they've always ran, which is basically a top spot type match, like a high impact spot Dragon Gate match. And that's what I expect from this, and I think it's going to be good. I absolutely do not expect this to be on the ground. I don't expect any ground wrestling out of this. I expect this to be purely spot Dragon Gate type main event. That's what I see.
Yeah, it could be. I think it'll be more on the ground. If you haven't seen Pac lately, he does throw a lot of suplexes. He is a lot more ground based. He is a lot bulkier. I'm not saying he doesn't throw out a whole bunch of flip dives and stuff like that. But Loki is basically is more so a ground wrestler than a high flyer, with the kicks and the strikes. I think it's going to be more strike oriented than people think it's going to be. And like Gabe even said, that's his main event dream match. So he obviously is getting an orgasm over this. He's obviously excited about this. He obviously wants people to see this. He obviously wants people. I know Nathan wants to talk here. He obviously, for $2, is trying to get people to watch this. And I think his whole plan is he wants this match to be really good, 4.5, 4.3, 5-star material. Because then, in order to see the show again, you have to pay the $15 on top of the $2 you already spent. So I think that's his plan. People are so excited and fall in love with the show. They go and buy it again, and they continue buying Dragon Gate USA reviews from now on.
I think Gabe Sapolsky is seriously overrating how much viewership this is going to add. The people who would be hyped up by a match like this would already have ordered the show. If you want to see Pac low key wrestle, you're already going to order the show. If you want to attract new fans, I mean, when Ring of Honor came on the scene in 2006, what brought them onto the scene? ROH CZW, the story. Those matches, I mean, they were good matches. They were stiff matches. They were fun matches. But they weren't matches that when you look back on Ring of Honor, you're like, oh, man, that was the best technical wrestling ever or anything like that. It was the story. If you want buzz about your company, your independent company, give me a story. The people, casual fans aren't going to tune in to watch Pac Low-Key dive all over the ring. If they like that kind of stuff, they'd be watching already.
The only argument I'm going to make there is they did give him the story with Johnny Gargano's ascension to the title, to winning the title, and it didn't really up viewership. Their best viewership was on their first couple of cards that had like Davey Richards versus Shingo and Davey Richards versus Yamato, and their first card, which is fucking great, just a whole bunch of random matches, but random really good wrestling matches.
Right, but
they are a dream match show basically.
To be fair, those first couple shows, Gabe Sapolsky was running on the fact that he was very successful in Ring of Honor. I was interested in those first few shows just because it's like, oh man, this guy kicked ass booking for Ring of Honor. What's he going to do with this new company? So I think viewership there can be attributed to Gabe Sapolsky Booker as opposed to the cards themselves.
Now, here's what I'm going to throw out for this Draggate situation is, just like Nathan said with the CZW and Ring of Honor, would it make it more interesting in Dragon Gate USA to have a kind of a storyline where the American talent is feuding with the Japanese talent, or have
they're already kind of doing it?
Well, or have, you know, even though people know that the companies are owned or kind of merged now, have an Evolve versus Dragon Gate USA type thing. Would that?
I don't think that could work. Because I think they've already merged it. They've already had it to where it's merged. So it's not like Evolve can evade, because we already have the basis that they're the same company now. It would have worked if you would have said Evolve was a separate entity and say all the Evolve guys like boycotted working on Dragon USA shows because they weren't getting their fair shake. Then it could have worked. But now since they've merged, it really has no bearing to me. I mean, it would be stupid to say Evolve versus Dragon Gate USA.
Yeah. Well, that was just an idea I was throwing out there.
They could do Dragon USA versus CZW because they do seem to run shows a lot at the same time.
Yeah.
In the same building. CZW runs first, then Dragon USA. You could start something there.
Well, I think it's going to gradually here soon. Dragon Gate USA is going to merge into just being just American guys. They're not going to have barely any Japanese. They're not going to have any Japanese guys. It's going to be an American indie with American wrestlers, the alternate to Ring of Honor, you know, all these younger guys.
I think they have to bring in Dragon Gate guys. I think that's their whole point. I mean, it's still have to bring a couple Japanese guys to bring in your fans, I believe.
I hope it goes the way you're suggesting, just because I think Gabe Sapolsky would have to go back to some of his booking chops, as opposed to just being
that
like,
would be true.
Oh, great, I got Japanese guys who can do cool shit. I mean, the same thing happened to him in Ring of Honor. It got to the point where, like, he relaxed on, you know, he was just bringing in so many Japanese guys that he thought that was enough to sell shows, and then eventually got stale.